Hello YouTube, hello Facebook, it is Reuben and I am back again with another Reuben report. Today we are going to be doing a continuation of my MPG Experiment series. This will be part 2. My last video we did the experiment with 91 octane and the Lucas fuel additive and everything else still stock on the bike. Stock gearing, stock spark plug, stock chain, everything. So basically what I've been doing, or what I am doing with this series, is that I'm incrementally adding each component that I discussed within my MPG improvement plan and seeing how each component incrementally increases the MPG, or how it affects the overall performance and MPG of the motorcycle. And from my test yesterday, from the part 1 of the series, we concluded that fuel grades don't really matter. The biggest difference so far with increasing the MPG is pretty much the rider's behavior and how it is that you treat the motorcycle. Especially if you're someone who is as heavy as I am, being very light on the throttle, keeping the RPMs down, staying under 70 miles per hour, basically yields you the best results as far as MPG performance. I was treating the bike basically the same way I was treating the bike when I first got it. When I first got it, I was restricted to going, staying under or at 5,000 RPM and pretty much babying the throttle the whole way during the braking period for the first 500 miles. And you guys have been with my journey to see how, I was doing that. My test yesterday, however, I was a bit higher than 5,000 RPM. I went all the way up to 7,000, but I still treated the bike pretty much how I did while I was doing the break-in process. It was light on the throttle and pretty much just gave it a steady power, very slow off the line, wasn't punching it off the line. So overall, we basically got the same MPG performance as we did when we first bought the bike, which was 55 miles to the gallon, which is good. It's very decent, especially knowing that that's pretty much what I would be getting during my new commute. So that's just going to be the baseline for now, especially with the bike in stock form. We're now going to replace the spark plug, and we're going to see how much of a difference this spark plug makes on the MPG performance. We're still going to run pretty much the same terrain, same tests, and I promise I'm going to make sure that my GoPro camera is going to be on this time so you guys can see where it is that I'm riding and how it is that I'm riding the bike. Alright, so let's go ahead and see what that spark plug looks like. Alright, pro tip for you guys: it's easier to remove the spark plug if you remove the side panels and just move mainly the top one out of the way, and then you can get in there with an extension over the spark plug socket, and that way you'll be able to move your ratchet a lot more freely. Because if you don't do that, it's very restricted down here with this hose in the way. But anyway, here is how the spark plug looks. We can get it to focus. Alright. Just a little bit of build up, a little bit of it's kind of flat tipped if you ask me. It's really hard for this thing to focus. Alright, but what is surprising to me is that this is actually an NGK spark plug that was in here. It is a NGK CR8E. Now if you go on the CSC website, the two NGK spark plugs that they sell for the RX3, I believe, is a CR7EK and a CR9EK. Both of those are copper. I'm not sure which one this one is. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and put in the new spark plug, and I'm going to show you guys the new spark plug real quick in comparison. Alright, so here is the new spark plug. Has the iridium tip. It's very skinny, small. And this is the NGK CR7EIX iridium spark plug. And I'm just going to show it in comparison to this guy. Sorry for the sloppy camera movement. So this is the old, and that's going to be the new. Okay, we'll go ahead and get this put in, and then we'll go off for a ride. Alright, she runs. Running just great. I'm gonna stop by the gas station, top off just a little bit, and then we'll do the same process that I did with the other test. Reset the trip odometer, do the GPS app, and then we'll head on out. Alright, so we filled up. I reset the trip. It's our current mileage. And I'm gonna go ahead and do the app. Show you a screenshot of the app. Alright, so as you guys can see, I actually did get some footage, but sadly we only got half of the footage. I only got the way back because on the way there I did check to make sure that the camera was recording. However, I did not know that the camera was set on 15-second shorts. And that's the type of clip that we got on the way, was only a 15-second short. But I'll show that clip right now. So as you guys can see, I recorded. I didn't know it was on the 15-second short, and it cut off after that. So pretty much only got the footage on the way back, but it's fine. Initial impressions on the new spark plug. The bike is a lot more responsive. It idles better. When you pull on the throttle or when you roll the throttle, it's a lot more consistent with its power delivery. The exhaust sounds totally different. There's no more jittering or sputtering. Everything is a lot more consistent, a lot more linear, a lot better spark overall. And what I have also done is I was observing how the bike was mainly performing with its stock gearing now, because that's pretty much going to be the next upgrade that I'm going to do. So I was trying to get a benchmark on how the stock gearing performs for somebody of my size, and you guys can let me know in the comments below or within the Facebook group as well how it is for you on your bike. But for me, and the way that and how heavy I am and the way that I loaded up, coming to a complete dead stop with the bike, I was observing how high the RPMs had to reach in order for my bike to start rolling, or in order for me to get enough power to start rolling off of the line. And in most instances, the RPMs had to reach as high as 4,000 RPM in order for my bike to start rolling in first gear. And I think that is pretty high for this bike, and pretty much any bike. I mean, I know when I was riding my TT250, I didn't have to rev it that high just to roll off the line. So I really think that this bike is geared way too high, because 4,000 RPMs, especially according to the available power band, which is anywhere between 0 to 9,000, that's almost halfway. That's almost half of the bike's power just to roll from a dead stop. What I also was observing was the kind of like the trying to find a good sweet spot in between, so I can find an optimal time to shift up. And I decided to try to be as consistent as possible with changing gears or shifting up at 6,000 RPM. So pretty much what would happen, I would roll off the line, be at 4,000. As soon as I hit 6, I shift into second. As soon as I hit 6,000 RPM in second gear, I shift up to third, so on and so forth. Whenever I was downshifting, because I've already got the benchmark of 4,000 RPM, every time that a gear, as I was slowing down, got to around that 4,000 or 4,500 RPM range, slowing down, that's when I downshifted. And so I kept the bike, or I tried my best to keep the bike in between 4,000 to 6,000 RPMs when I was generally just riding around the city. But once I was on, a long stretch of road, almost like I'm doing now, or where the speed limits got a little bit higher, that's when in sixth gear I would reach up to almost 7,000 RPM, and maybe even just a little bit higher to keep up with traffic. And my top speed today, we'll see on the GPS app later, but indicated, I think I went a little bit over. I try to stay under 70 as much as possible, but I think I touched a little bit over it, like once or twice. And we don't have any footage of me riding on the way here or on the way to the midpoint, but on my way to the midpoint, I did pass up 2 different cars, 1 truck and 1 other joyrider. So I rode on the throttle a little bit, but I think I only touched 70 doing that. But yeah, so just like yesterday, I was pretty much riding maximum around 7K, at 7K, maybe even a little bit higher than 7K RPM, and try to keep it under 70 miles an hour. And I think, the main difference is, well, 1, the spark plug, and then 2, also adding the downshifting technique, staying around 4,000 RPM and trying to generally keep the bike in between 4,000 and 6,000 RPM when doing a little slower speeds or within city or town speeds. And I think the new spark plug, in conjunction with this new riding technique, well, we'll see what the results will be. And I'm just going to go ahead and let you guys continue to watch the rest of this clip, and I will jump back in later. Here we finally made it to the gas station. It's pretty much like the start of rush hour traffic. A lot of people getting off of work, so it was pretty packed. Had to wait a little while for a stall to free up, but we made it. As I was riding, it stayed on 4 bars for a very long time, which was quite optimistic. it gave me a lot of hope to see what my MPG finally was, but it just went down 1 tick a little after, or a little before I got to the gas station. And here shortly I'm going to be taking the camera off of the GoPro mount on top of my head, and I'm going to be showing you guys the tripometer on the bike and also the tripometer on my GPS app on my phone. Got a few bug splatters on there. Hope it didn't mess with the video quality too much. Okay, so we have 51 miles trip, and we have 65 miles max speed, and then we have 51.1 on the trip on the bike. Alright guys, I made it back home and I checked my camera and we got all the footage, so I'm very glad about that. Another thing that I was doing today, we'll talk about it in the voiceover as well. I was adjusting or developing a certain riding technique because I was just observing how the bike was pulling me, and what RPM range was probably like the optimal. And so I pretty much modified my riding technique to keep the bike in I guess in its what I thought were to be the best MPG performance type state. And initial impressions on the new spark plug. The bike runs great. The throttle was a lot more responsive. It was a lot more consistent. I didn't have any more jerky or sputtering. The exhaust on the bike sounds way different now with this new spark plug in. So I really think that the spark plug upgrade has definitely improved how this bike runs overall. Now for the MPG performance. All right, little drum roll, and we got 57.5 MPG today. So a tiny little improvement over yesterday. You guys also saw the app. You saw the tripometer. They were pretty much spot on again. It was off by 0.1 mile. That could be due to user error. Kind of like how you try to set a clock. You try to set a clock on the two same devices, but you know the seconds in between could be off. So the little, I don't know, yardage or feet in between could have been off, which I can't really set. So it was off by 0.1 hardly, but yeah. So mileage has improved. The spark plug did improve performance, and I'm looking forward to the next upgrade, which is going to be the rear sprocket. And I'm really curious to see how the rear sprocket is going to not only potentially improve MPG performance, but just in general allow the bike to pull me at a much lower RPM. You know, I'm probably going to say this already within the voiceover, but the bike generally, especially in first gear and most of the other gears, they generally don't have any power or any pull until you hit 4,000 RPM, and that's kind of high. That's like almost half of the available power band I mean, before you go into redline, that is. So for me, being as heavy as I am riding this bike, and I have to be at almost half of the power band for it to even start moving, yeah, I'm really curious to see how the new sprockets is going to widen the power band, allow it to have much lower RPM while pulling me, and how that's going to affect the overall gas mileage. Okay, see y'all soon.